What is up, Generals? We are back with Ultimate General Civil War with the J&P Rebalance Legendary Confederate campaign. Yeah, we are right after the Confederate tutorial mission, so I had to sort of roll back the clock a little bit. I had played out Newport with 2 infantry, 1 cavalry, 1 artillery, and the best I could manage was a draw, which put me at 14 reputation and made Bull Run very difficult. The reason it made Bull Run so difficult is, well, actually, I don't know what the exact effect of beating them at Newport is here, but I had not triggered this. The enemy army grows stronger. Holy shit, the enemy army did grow stronger. So, it made the battle unplayably difficult. A better player than I might have been able to pull it out. It was simply an issue of there was not enough of my dudes to go around. So we're back here at the camp screen, and the shame of it is that I recorded a pretty decent kind of camp tutorial for a newer player. So kind of now I have to sort of redo it, but maybe that means I have the opportunity to kind of cover down on the things I forgot. So first things first is I want to apologize. I'm going to scrap the video. There's an hour and a half long battle at Newport where I end up losing or getting a draw, and that's pretty hard fought. And then there's a frustrating 2 hours of Newport where it's pretty clear that Manassas where it's pretty clear I'm going to lose. And the issue therein is just multiple 4,000 man Union brigades. And even at these sizes, I couldn't really compete with that. So, and honesty, upfront about all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare for Newport, and I'm going to go with a little more boring of a build and a little more of a straightforward build. So just a quick look at the career screen. I think it's a little bit different than what I did last time. So I bumped 1 point in econ, and I left 1 point out of Army Org. If I win Newport, I can pump Army Org. However, technically I don't need to. Because I can have 2 divisions. So I might put that 2nd point into logistics and then come back to AO later on in the campaign. As far as how we're doing let's do the camp screen. So camp screen, the first thing I want to take a look at is this tells you where you are in the campaign. This is your general. I did the same perk as before, the accuracy perk. This is Legendary Fiasco, all that kind of fun stuff. If you hover over the rank icon, you can see that your difficulty. You can see where you are in the campaign, all that kind of fun stuff. There's the general menu for, all that kind of enjoyable things. This is a division. Every unit within it is what this game calls a brigade. I have had many discussions in previous series and likely will again about how I feel like maybe that's not really a brigade. Like, this is bigger than a regulation battery, but it's not. I don't think that there were independent artillery brigades that operated as one single unit. I'm pretty sure the largest independent artillery unit in the Civil War was the battery. So, that's getting into pedantic stuff, but, little things like that. So we're going to do some things here to get ourselves ready for Newport News, and while I'm doing that, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Army. So this is an infantry brigade. Historically, it would have been several individual regiments or battalions, and in this era, in the U.S. anyway, that term was used largely interchangeably. In the modern military and in most other militaries around the world, a regiment is an administrative unit, and a battalion is a combat unit. In the case of the U.S. Civil War, most regiments were composed exclusively of one battalion, and they lacked a home-based headquarters unit to trickle at new resources as the time went on. So this is where you're going to see your units. This is where you're going to be able to move them around. I don't have enough to move around just yet, so you're not going to be able to see that in action just yet. But once I get ready for Manassas and put together a 2nd division, you'll see some of that in action. So that's this screen. This is your unit. This is our supply pool, and we'll fill that back up as we go. So you just tick it up, tick it down, all that kind of stuff. You can go up to, it used to be in the vanilla game, you can go as high as 30. And then in the previous version, you can go as high as 50. And I think I saw in the patch notes now you can go as high as 100, which is bonkers. But, you know, hey, we'll see. If you click up here, you can rename your units, and I always do. So the naming convention is unstarred units are just listed as militia. 1-star units are listed as infantry. And then 2-star units is when they start to sort of diverge. So theoretically speaking, if I move a unit in the direction of more accuracy and more riflery, it'll be called first rifles. If I move the unit in the direction of more melee, I'll call them the grenadiers. If I move a unit up to the 3rd star, it will gain the guard moniker. So it'll be the first infantry. Later on in its career will be first rifle guards. Or first guards rifles. I haven't figured out how I want to do that. There's a number of different historical things that I could go off of. I number each kind of unit independently. So line infantry off on its own numbering, artillery on its own numbering, cavalry on its own numbering, and light infantry on its own numbering. Now that last bit is a change from the previous campaigns that you may have watched on my channel, where I kept all infantry on the same number schema. So it's going to be a little silly at first when I have 1st infantry, 1st artillery, 1st cavalry, and 1st skirmishers, which will probably be a sniper unit, all in the same corps, and probably even in the 1st division of the 1st corps. So it's going to get pretty stupid. I make a point of moving units around. I kind of like the roleplay aspect of. I mean, it's rare in history to see 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th infantry all fighting together in the same unit, so they get spread around and all that kind of stuff. What we're going to do, this is the armory screen. These are the guns that I have. These are the guns that I can buy. As you'll notice, the you can buy price is quite a bit higher than the you can sell price. This is how many you have in stock, and what you do is you go through here and you figure out what you want to buy, either for the immediate use or for use later on in the campaign. This screen resets every major battle. So if you want to buy one of these guns, for example, I want to buy the Whitworths here. I want to buy all of them. I buy them now, even though I don't have anyone I can give them to. I can't use 14, but I want to have all 14. Why? Because after First Manassas, this screen will completely reset. And I'll have to, I'll get a new crop, so to speak, of weapons. And the way that you make this number of what's available here get bigger is you bump up logistics. The way you make this number get smaller and you can buy more of them is you bump up econ. So you see how those two stats directly apply to everything else. Logistics additionally provides you extra ammo on the field of battle. So it means you're consuming supply at a lower rate. This works for cavalry equipment, which is the Cookin' Brothers, my favorite cav musket. This works for skirmisher weapons. The only one I care about is the Scope Whitworth. And it works for artillery. Now, artillery has gotten a major rework in terms of balance patches or passes as a function of the update from 1.24 to 1.25. And I'm still getting kind of caught up on what guns do what now. So let's do a real quick pass through. We're going to go ahead and buy the one howitzer that's currently visible or available. So this is the smoothbore cannon is rapidly becoming obsolete. And the reason it says that is because the range is fairly short nowadays. For the smoothbore guns, it's pretty good, yeah. Range is relatively short. The fire rate's pretty good, actually. This thing shoots really well. And then the melee stats largely, like if you're using melee for your cannons, you're already doing something wrong. Take a look at the damage range multiplier, however. This thing is useless beyond maybe short range. And that's where something like the Napoleon starts to come into its own. So even at canister range, it's only 87% accurate, whereas the Napoleon is 100% accurate. And interestingly, the 12-pound howitzer is actually 108% accurate. However, its effective range is 200 points shorter than the Napoleon. The 14-pound James is kind of a take-all-comers gun. I don't know why it's listed all the way up here. Probably because it's occupying the spot that the wired used to. And my understanding is that the position of these guns is largely hard-coded, and so JNP can only move it so much. So this used to be the spot that a wired gun would fit, and I think they probably pulled it out because they were good guns in the game, but I feel like they were kind of rare historically. So anyway, the 14-pound James is a take-all-comers medium-range gun. 1350 range is excellent. The damage range is fairly narrow and pretty high. And then it's just got great accuracy stats, like all the way through its entire life cycle, out to max range. It's overshadowed at maximum range by the 10-pound Parrot, but it outranges the 10-pound Parrot by 200 ticks. So, we'll see. The 10-pound Ordnance kind of strikes the balance in between those two. So these three guns are all rifled guns, and they all kind of have similar behavioral characteristics. But the James, as you'll notice, is excellent still in close range, equal in performance to the 6-pounder in terms of canister. So the James kind of covers down on all these different uses, and they've got that going for them. 12-pound howitzer is a cannon that is the same generation of gun as the 6-pound field. It's super good for canister work and pretty much garbage for anything else. However, one thing I do want to notice under the name 12-pound howitzer, smoothbore gun, 12 pounds, it's got listed light cannon. Now, most every other gun in the game is listed as a medium cannon, and with the exception of the 24-pound howitzer. Well, that's a medium too. Interesting. Is there heavy? Yeah. Rifle's heavy. Probably the Siege is probably heavy. Yeah. So, evidently there is like an increased consumption of stamina to move these guns in a non-limbered form. So just keep that in mind. Like, the 6-pound field might be garbage, but A, it's cheap and available, typically free off the enemy, and B, it's light to move around. So this is the kind of thing that would actually be great for the horse artillery perk, because you could just keep it up with the infantry and fire away. So the Napoleon is your kind of jack of all trades, master of none, infantry support gun, and we're going to be leaning pretty heavily into this gun. It's massively improved from the 1.2 variant, where it was largely a do not use kind of weapon. Now this is the kind of thing that I'm happy to utilize in my army. So you've got a cheap jack of all trades that I'm in a hurry to replace in the 10-pounder ordnance, it's fine. It's a fine, decent at most things gun, and I'm going to be using it for counter battery at Manassas. The Napoleon is phenomenal for position defense, and it's devastating against infantry, which, also a good thing. 20-pound Parrot is the king of counter battery fire. It's just got the longest range in the game, with the exception of perhaps the Whitworth. Yep, Whitworth massively outranges it. It's got excellent accuracy characteristics, but it fires slow as all get out, and it just hits like a truck when it does hit. The 24-pounder is a Napoleon on steroids, and the stats kind of bear that out. It has the damage curve of the 12-pound howitzer, a little worse at max range. Yeah, but, to compensate, it's quite a bit better at short and medium range. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the 12-pound howitzer is basically only good at canister range, and at that range, it's actually phenomenal. It's great at canister range. It's garbage anywhere else. The 24-pound howitzer looks like it's actually kind of okay at everything up to medium. So yeah, we're gonna be prioritizing this as a conceptual upgrade to the Napoleon that is going to likely be proportionally more rare. Now, the 10-pound Blakely is another gun that got a great facelift in the course of the upgrade from 1.24 to 1.25. Infamously, in my first video, I shat on them and then immediately received guff on the Discord channel from Panda. So when I have the opportunity to use these from the reputation menu, which we'll talk about in a second, we're going to jump on them. But it looks like it's a long-range... Again, a long-range jack-of-all-trades bruiser that outranges even the James. So it's got decent, not like much more than the James, but it significantly outranges the 10-pound Parrot. It significantly-ish outranges the Ordnance. So yeah, it's got some kick. This might be a good poor man's. You know what? Sure, go ahead and grab one. The Whitworth is just a long bomb. It doesn't hit that hard, but it's just got stupid range. Like I think it's the longest range in the game. So there's that. And the Siege is just a monster. It's like if someone stuck the round in a 24-pound howitzer at close range, but then managed to shoot it out to 1700 range. Look at this damage curve. It's not even a curve. It's a straight line. 33, 33, 32, 32, 31. So there is a slight downward edge, but not much, man. Anyway, so Newport News is a battle that has us defending a town. So I'm going to do the unthinkable because I don't have 7 Napoleons. I'm going to delete Cable and then remake Cable. Oh, that's right. Cable bit it in my... Yeah, that's fine. We're going to remake Shaler, evidently. We're going to give him Napoleons. Boop.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to bump him to 5. And this is the value where training comes in. Training 4 comes in. We're going to go be able to give him a perk. So the unit used to have the short range focus perk, which gives it a reload time reduction and increased canister damage. Shot shell damage, effective range. Yeah, actually reload time reduction on Napoleon would be great. Done. Boom. So let's do that. And that's first artillery. And I would have been happy to just give them new guns. Actually, I need to... Okay. So typically I don't actually list the gun in the unit anymore. I used to do that. It's just kind of a lot more work than I want to get into. But for artillery, it's important because it dictates the behavior of the unit. So I need to do that. And then we're going to do the... the veteran trick. So this is... You click on the tab for veterans or rookies, and that determines which of the two you get. So the first thing we're going to do is click on veterans, and then we're going to click on... You're going to increase the number until we spend $5,000 on vets. There's another bonus of spending all those perks on vet points. This actually goes pretty far. That's good enough. All right, and then the rest are going to be rookies up to 1250. So what that does here is it preserves as much as possible some of the stats that we gained in the last battle, while also not going crazy pants on spending for rookies. And it's important that you do that first, not later. First of all, because you don't know how many $5,000 is going to get you. Secondly, you want to preserve the stats as much as possible. A significant portion of the reason I'm going with this particular strategy is that I want to preserve the experience gains of my units as much as possible. So it's kind of hard to do that, obviously, if I'm blowing a lot of, putting in a lot of rookies. In my last playthrough, I had a lot of 1-star units. So we talked about the armory, blah, 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 guns, great, whatever. Barracks is the same concept as the armory. These are officers you have, and these are officers you can buy. You'll notice that they are significantly more expensive than their vanilla game counterparts. However, I do feel as if at the bottom of the scale here, I think the scaling is a bit more generous than it used to be. Like, this is actually bearable. I could see spending this on officers, so I'm not as worried about it as I was on the 1.24 playthrough, where I was like buying captains and just saying F it. So let's go ahead and purchase ourselves a decent light colonel. Chapman? Let's spend the extra 600 and just, well, screw it. In for a penny, in for a pound. Gary Stark basically guarantees, right? Because he's better. He's about as good as Shaler. Shaler's 49 out of 50. So Gary Stark here is not going to tell me, but it's bigger than 40. It's bigger than 50. I mean, so was Gilbert, but $200 is not the end of the world. So let's buy him. And we're going to go ahead and make another infantry unit. And unfortunately, we don't have enough of the superior 1841 to make a unit. I'm really not a big fan of the 1855. Why? Look at the long range damage multiplier on it. 20%. This thing fires as accurately as a percussion musket. Let's take a look at that at a screen where you can see a little better what I'm talking about. So the percussion musket at maximum range, it hits for 20% accurate. Now, its maximum range is 300, which is shorter than the 55. And the damage range is between 4 and 8. So there's a damage range of 4 points. And the damage range here is 3.48 to 5.22. So it's quite a bit more narrow. It's got that going for it. And it's an effective range of 400 versus 300. Fire rate is also higher on the... where did we go? Wait, am I looking at the wrong gun? Nope, there we go. Fire rate is also higher on the Springfield 55. But I don't know. It's just not very accurate. So I'm going to be using the MJ on our new brigade here. That's Gary Stark. I'm going to go ahead and just suck it up and buy some surplus MJ and Gs. We're going to go ahead and push him up to 1250. Eat the expense. Light Colonel, 4 training, boom. We have the musketry drill. Gives me an accuracy boost. And we're not dealing with untrained rookies going into the battle. So you've gone over Armory, Barracks, the career screen. We talked about this in the first video, but these stats are pretty straightforward in terms of what they mean. I do want to bump up recon. I'm missing being able to spot stuff already, so that's going to be a thing I take a look at. Last thing I want to take a look at is the reputation screen. On this screen, think of reputation as a currency, kind of like prestige from some other role-playing games or strategy games. It's basically you cajoling for extra resources back in Richmond or Washington, depending on which faction you're playing. In my reset, I didn't lose Tom Preston, so I don't need to buy James Archer. I may anyway, although probably not. So this is the build we're going to go for Newport News. It is significantly more boring than the one that I had before, but the difference is it works. You notice my number here is yellow. This is on the edge of like good of the negative impact on reputation. So there's no effect on morale right now. But if this number was lower, there'd be a -1 or 2 or 3 or whatever on morale. When I went into my failed run from Manassas, I was at 14 reputation because I only got a draw in Newport, and it was a -6 to morale, which is a huge punch in the gut. So we want to get that number up because it actually gives you positive morale if you get it higher without spending it. However, we'll see. I don't want the percussion muskets. I'm going to get plenty for free, and I'm on the fence about James Archer. We'll see. You don't need them right now, obviously. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cut the mic and fight the battle of Newport News in the next video. Let's go into that with 20,000 in supply. Sounds good. So this is Fiasco signing out, and I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds. In the next video, and we'll do that. So that's Newport News coming up. Fiasco signing out.